like to relate technology to what we're dealing with today.
We're going to start, Lynn.
Okay.
Hey there, this is Laurie Delk.
Hello, this is Kathryn. Rara is in the house. Asaro Myers speaking to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Hello, Laurie. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and I love looking at you in bright colors. And this week, you have been a rainbow. Not only did we have a solar eclipse, but we had Laurie Delk with a rainbow of colors. That was amazing. I was actually waking up in the morning looking to see what you were wearing and how you were wearing it. And it made me think, Barbie dolls has nothing on Gratitude Girls clothes.
Right.
It's amazing. I have all these handmade Barbie doll clothes that I get to play with, not by myself. I have grandchildren. And I look at them and I think they're beautiful and they're intricate, but I looked at you and that was way more interesting than any Barbie doll handmade clothes. You are an amazing, amazing image to look at every single morning, a human being, a person. And when I grow up, I want to dress in color because I am committed to black.
Right, yeah, and I'm not.
I see that. I go as far as I took the color and put it on my nails, but you are converting me. And I am coachable and convertible and an excellent student. And I have to say that when I'm looking at you in the morning, I'm like, yellow. Now, if you could ever get me to wear yellow, Laurie, then we will have to do something like light up fireworks. But that's another case and a half. And I just want to say how grateful I am to be here, to be able to listen, to be able to watch you and learn from you. And for our audience who's tuning in for the first time, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. We have such an awesome show tonight. We'll talk about our guest in just a few minutes. Laurie, there might be some people watching us saying, okay, what are the Gratitude Girls? What are they doing? Why are they here? Would you like to share your version, our version of what are we doing?
Sure, yeah. So Kathryn and I met actually on stage. So in front of about 5,000 people, we didn't know each other. We were both in a greeting card and gifting company together. And we were actually cross-lined. So we didn't know each other. We're on different teams. But our company gives an award every single year. And there's a theme for each year. So back in 2013, the theme was gratitude. And so our CEO got up on stage and he was announcing who the winner was. And he went through all the stuff. And I'm always a picture taker. So I'm in the audience taking pictures and video. And he's announcing and Kathryn's going up on stage and getting her award and looking all beautiful. And then he says, and this year, we have a tie and somebody else is winning also. And he proceeded to announce some things about that person and then said my name. And so Kathryn and I met on stage and then afterwards the host walked us off the stage together and sat us in this little section together. And right then and there, we both just kind of said at the same time, we need to do something with this. And I had my phone with me, of course. And so within about 3 minutes, gratitudegirls.com was bought and started.
It was completely amazing, Laurie. Our CEO was definitely, he had his eye on something very bigger, much bigger than we had imagined at that time. And I am, and I know you are too, very grateful to Cody for doing that, for honoring us and giving us the platform, opening the door for us to take it to the next step. Because who would have thought that two people could meet on stage and develop what we've developed? I guess it might have happened somewhere else. I haven't heard of it yet. So I believe that what we have done is quite unique and it's lasting and it's genuine and we have not missed a show. So for our guests, we are hosting once a month for Gratitude Girls and we have amazing, amazing people. Tonight, we have an amazing woman with us. So, let me not use that word lightly. Let me explain what I mean by that. We have gratitude in our lives and Laurie and I have shared a little bit about how we met and what that meant to us and the vibration that started from that, and here we are 4 years later, and we are working with different talented, wonderful people all over the world. And then it comes to us. We wake up and it comes to us. We read stories from people. We get texts. We get emails. We walk around throughout our life, and people come up to us, and we go up to people. It works both ways. And then we know that there's someone that has a story, and we know that someone would be perfect for our show, but the timing needs to be right. And when you know someone and you know them from your heart, and you say to yourself, that person would be perfect for our show. And then you wait for the right time to appear. Well, this is someone, our guest tonight is someone I have waited for the timing to be right. And the timing because of busy life and change. And change is a good word to use for the guest that I'm talking about tonight, because our guest is a master at managing, at strategizing change. Our guest is a master at attracting. And I don't know if manipulating is a good word, but I mean that in the sense of how a baker manipulates bread. You know, without the hands of that baker, that bread is just not going to be the way you want it. And Lynn is the baker with change in her hands, manipulating it and molding it to be this amazing, amazing outcome. And I would like to have Lynn share a little bit about herself. So our guest tonight is Lynn Kowalski, and Lynn is speaking to you from Montreal, Quebec. And Lynn, I am thrilled and honored that you're here with us today. Welcome. Welcome to Gratitude Girls.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Trust me. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Lynn, for our audience who's tuning in, who maybe saw a post about you, maybe they didn't, Can you speak a little bit about, I know that you live in gratitude, but can you tell us a little bit about how is gratitude part of your life?
Oh my goodness. I think it's a daily, it's not just, realizing gratitude, but really living it, living and breathing it. Understanding, living in the moment is about understanding gratitude that's all around you. It could be in the simplest things, either, in a flower or that you're nurturing, or in your relationships, or there's serendipity in your animals or your pets or your children, the people that you meet walking down the street. Sometimes, if you just smile at another person, it's just being, you're grateful for, being in this space, this time, and just breathing. We're very lucky to be living the life that we have here, especially in Canada and the US and North America. And you just have to be grateful for that. And when you're grateful for that, I think a lot of people see those things, right? So it's who I am. I mean, whether I'm in yoga, I smile with people. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, or what you represent. It's just being grateful for that moment that you're alive, breathing, and you're well.
And thank you for sharing that perspective. And you mentioned the word more than once, breathing. Now, I know everybody needs to breathe, but you pay particular attention to breathing. Now, that may sound odd to our audience, but you have mastered what to do with breathing and yoga. Can you share a little bit about how does this take part in your life? What is breath and yoga to you?
It's a lot of people think that yoga is some type of spiritual practice, and it's not. It's really connecting movement with breath. And the real reason why is because usually when we're in a stressful moment, or, everybody has ups and downs in their lives, right? And it's really about understanding that when you move in your postures, that it's important to breathe. And when you breathe, you will realize that maybe what's in front of you is not so bad after all. It's not so stressful. Because when you breathe, you take a moment and your body relaxes. Your body relaxes, you release endorphins. There's a lot of things that go along with it. And, many times people don't realize when they're sitting at work or when they're sitting there doing something and they may be having this pain, their diaphragm or in their stomach, it's because they're not breathing. And I will say that every single stressful moment, and me, Kathryn, I've had quite a few changes happen to me in my lifetime, but without that, I don't think I would be able to do what I'm able to do today.
And Lynn, I know that you
person
are,
I am.
I know that you're dedicated to so many things, and it's not about any one thing in particular. Like you said, it's who you are, but you embark on hot yoga. So you,
Yes.
and I have experienced this with you, and
Yes. Yeah.
thank you to that, because that is something that I never understood until you brought me. You came to Toronto and you brought me to hot yoga, not once, but twice. And I really thought in my mind, you know, what, I'm going, it's you, I'm going with you.
Mhm.
But that was a euphoric experience. This hot yoga that you embark on, what do you do this daily? Is this almost every day of your life?
Daily. I do this daily without fault. It's my space. It's my moment to reflect. And when you talk about gratitude, it's to reflect on what's really important in life. It's not about your job, not about a title. It's not about how much money you make, how big your house is, or how fancy your car is. It's really about that space and time, and about being grateful for that. That you're living and breathing, and experiencing. That in itself is something. So that's what hot yoga brings me.
Yes, and you mentioned stressful, and when we have a space and you go into that space and it gives you a way to think and to breathe, and it's your sacred space to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what you do every day, and I commend you for that, and I am thrilled and look up to you for that, because the hot yoga I do at the moment is when I turn the air conditioning off. So I'm at what you call
Come on, Kathryn.
yoga. Yeah, I'm stepping into it at a different level, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go there because I have to do that with you from here. But there are things that come up in life, like you said, and there are things that we're grateful for, and there are things that test us, and we're tested all the time, because we're here to be sharing experience. And I know that you said you were grateful for many things. So is there something that's happened that you would like to share with our audience, an experience, a person, a relationship, something that you would like to talk about here on our show? It's just us. We're just hanging out. It's the three of us. We're talking. And some of it might be easy, it might not. It's your choice. But I know that you have some really fantastic connections in your heart. And if you're willing to share them, we'd be willing and honored to have you discuss them with us.
It's how important. I think I am who I am today through the fact of my mom. And I went through the hardest life lesson when I lost my mother 3 years ago. And I never thought that my mother would fall ill so quickly and then pass away. And then we went through the motions together, in different space and time, with regards to saying, okay, what was life all about for my mother? What was it? What she had to experience? And, she never complained. She never blamed anybody for her experiences. She always got up and always moved forward. She had, she never had down moments, or, I would call her about some piddly thing and she would say, you know what, Lynn, keep smiling, you're fine. You'll get over it, you'll rise above it. And she was always my champion. When it came to change in my life, she was my champion. And when I saw her, degrade in the hospital day by day, I was her champion, and just trying to heal her. And at one point we had to connect. We're very spiritual people. I'm very religious, and I connected with her, with God, and her path, what she took, and how, God will accept her in his grateful hands. And, even though she was going through the toughest time and she was barely even conscious, she realized that, and I was grateful for the moment to share her passing. And I don't think anybody realizes how profound an effect that can have on somebody when you hold somebody that you deeply love and you say, oh my goodness, I'm helping you pass through this. That's the biggest change in our life. And I was the only one person in the room, even though I had lots of family there. It just so happened that she decided to share that moment with me. And I'll never forget it. And I held her, and she was gently moved into our Lord's hands. And for me, that was everything, you know. And I was grateful, and I think there's a connection that when you are open in your heart and you're grateful for the things around you, you know, you connect with the universe and the signs that are there. And when my mother passed through, you know, the sign was, I got up at 2:30 in the morning, and I knew that she had really passed over, because the sign of, you know, I saw a shooting star, and I said, how is that possible that I'm up at 2:30 at this time and there's a shooting star? You know, so it, to me, and I felt this electricity through my body, and I said, wow. I said, she could not have left in a better way. You know, so it's, I'm grateful for having these experiences, and, you know, I share them with people, and I say, you just have to be open. And when you're open, so much magic happens, whether, you know, it doesn't matter what religion you are, what culture, what denomination, but when you start to understand that gratefulness, and, you know, it doesn't matter how, when you connect, you know, life is giving. It's very giving.
Lynn, your mother was a beautiful, beautiful woman. I'm honored to have met her and to have spent any time with her. And I'm sure that she's watching you and us right now. And you are sharing your message with our audience and to those who might be facing the loss of a loved one, or have, as Laurie and I share that with you. I know Laurie will probably have a question or two for you. And there is nothing that can take the life and the memories of our parents, of our mom, and that moment will always be with you. And that's the journey that you have with your mom. And I know how much you love her still to this day. Is there anything that you would like to say? Because I know that on a professional level, you're a change management expert, a consultant, a confidant.
Yes,
going through this, a change that can never go back to any other way. How did you cope with that? How are you coping with that from a professional level?
You know, I try to, you know, if the thing is that, you know, we're all people. We all experience emotion. We all, you know, we have wants, we have needs, and, you know, fundamentally, whether we're the CEO of a company, of a very large company, or VP, or, you know, somebody just working in production, producing a product for the greater good, or a larger corporation. It doesn't matter what your title may just put you in a better office or in a better environment. But overall, we all have wants and needs. And, you know, some of the best people that I've worked with, it's about saying, you know, connect with the person. Doesn't matter what they're doing, but we all do the same things. We have our family, we have our loves, you know, we have our wants, you know, we have our desires. And, you know, we get angry because sometimes we perceive things and our expectations are so high. But when you start to see the basic needs of others and putting yourself in the shoes of others and having a bit of empathy, it's funny how people will start to connect with others no matter what level. And, you know, I've worked with many very large companies. We'll talk about large railway companies and large airline companies, and, you know, it's people who build airplanes or trains or automobiles, and now it's a, you know, beer maker, but, you know, it's all people are the same. And, you know, as leaders, or if we have key positions in organizations, we're still there to serve others. We're there to serve people and lead them and guide them and have a 360, because each person, regardless of their title, has something to share. They have an experience, and they have knowledge, and they have expertise. It's not about title. It's really about the experience of that person in this moment in time, and about opening up the discussion to have that connection. And, you know, that's the approach I always take when I coach a lot of people, because change management is really about coaching and understanding the environment around us. and also about how we manage our emotion, our fear, our anxiety, our anger, because people are mostly resistant to change, right? When something comes into our life, we say, oh my goodness, why now? Sorry, we have no timing, but it's going to happen. In a company, there's a timing. In our lives, there's no timing, but there's change all around us. Whether we accept it and we embrace it, it's one thing. But, you have to be aware of how to accept it, how to embrace it. And that's what I bring to people. It's about going through those steps and emotions of saying, okay, what's the environment like? Why do you feel these? It's about a lot of questions and about giving a person the space to just express themselves. And that is the fundamental of change management.
And Lynn,
secret.
Thank you. I'm listening very intently. And then what are some of the signs, the red flags, the warning signs when you're speaking to someone and you said you want to see how someone handles something? So you have a team, you're working for whichever company that you're currently working for, and you have your team and you're watching the people on your team respond. What are the red flags that will set you to look and keep an eye out in case something may not go the way that you're planning it? What are the red flags?
Funny, people are predictable. We're all predictable. It's unfortunate, but we behave the same way, right? We have different people who show a level of expression, whether it's through body language, whether it's through language, whether it's through eye contact. You have to be receptive. You have to be open. Not everybody's receptive. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more receptive than others. Like I said, through the coaching of my own mother, being receptive. It's really about being aware, listening, and observing, taking that time, breathing through the moment, saying, okay. Everybody seems to be okay with it, but maybe there's that one person who's sitting there with their arms crossed and looking inward and being upset about something. It's not about approaching that person who may not be sociable or not be expressive, but about having that one-on-one connection and just taking them aside and saying, hey, you know what? How are you feeling today? What does this mean for you? Those two things will open up any discussion, any conversation. How do you feel today?
So when you
respond to this.
Mm-hmm. So when you see someone, thank you, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So when you see someone that is closed somehow in body language or some gesture, when you recognize that body language, you approach that you go into their zone in a way that they will accept, and then you ask them one of those two questions: how are you today and how's it going for you? So you get their perspective. Is that it?
Yeah, correct. It just starts with a very simple discussion. When you go and if you go head on and say, hey, by the way, I noticed this and this, that's all about you then. Because change management is about understanding what's in it for them. And most people will be more intro than extro, right? It's really about saying, okay, well, it's not about me, it's about that person. So, hey, how are you feeling today? Not about going full frontal and saying, hey, by the way, I noticed this and this.
Right.
It's the I.
And Lynn,
take the I out of it, it's the you, right?
And Lynn, what happens? So what happens if you approach that person, you see the red flag, you recognize that person, you check out the zone that you have to be in, you make the approach, and you're not getting anywhere? And what happens if you still get the same body language and you're not seeing any movement? As a change management expert, what do you do? So if we're in that scenario, we're observing that, like what would you recommend?
If a person's not responsive, it's okay. Let them be. Don't be in front of them, because when people want acceptance, then you think about yourself again, right? You have to look at that person, put yourself in their shoes, and say, okay, maybe something's not going right today, but you know what? Let's tap into it another day. If they're not open and you're getting close-ended answers, and you sit there going, okay, you know what? Perfect, great, glad you're feeling fine. Connecting with that person at a later date, right? Because you don't know what's happening in your day. Maybe his children were sick, or maybe there's something going on in his family, or, most people behave because of what they have within their personal lives. right? That you got to, there's a balance there. And I always say to people, I say, well, you know, why is he behaving like that with me? I'm like, well, maybe he's not having a good day, and it's okay. Give him a couple of days to breathe. It's okay. You know, go back and then, you know, approach saying, hey, how's it going? You know, we have this meeting. How do you feel? Do you have any input? What opinion do you have? Because everybody wants, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how introverted or extroverted or analytical or expressive or whatever type indicator you are in your personality, people want to share, but they want to share in their own needs. And you got to figure that out. And sometimes it takes a bit more investigation. So, you know, I'm kind of, people say, well, you know, you're kind of like an investigator. You observe, you know, and observation is the majority of what I do. And then I say, okay, well, maybe that person doesn't want to speak today, but you will get an opportunity. That person will get an opportunity. May not be within your timing, but you know what? The timing will happen. But it's just to have the consciousness to say, okay, this person that may not agree with you, and it's okay, but maybe you need to have a different approach. And it's about working with that approach.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, just to move on to the other type of person, and then I'll see if Laurie has a question. So what if you get someone who has that response and they're closed-minded or they're closed in their body, and so maybe their mind is following that, and then you get an opening and they give you a grand opening, this amazing welcome that had you not knocked on the door. So what do you do with that person? Do you reward them? Do you give them more to do? Do you walk away? Do you applaud? So what do you do with that person who had the breakthrough?
Never reward somebody by giving them too much things to do, because that becomes an act of punishment. That's what happens, right? When it's really about asking how they want to be involved. How do they see themselves within the process? You may have ideas about how you want them to participate, but if you don't listen to what they're going to bring to the table and what they need, you'll never get anywhere. You know, so it's a negotiation. It's facilitation.
So don't have an agenda. So when we see someone who was starting like this and now they're listening and they're keen, don't give them your agenda on what you think they should have been doing in the first place. Ask them, what are they willing to do? Don't dump it on them. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. So meet them where they're at.
Oh, of course. Always. And it takes time and it takes patience. And a lot of people, because they have their own agenda and they have their own objectives, tend not to respect other people's spaces and time. And that's usually what causes conflict. So, oh yeah.
Good point. Now, Lynn, what about you're in a new company and you're not meeting resistance? You're getting the person who's there and ready to help you. So they're a team player. So what are you doing with change management? What do you do with the person who's ready and gives you no red flags and gives you these different signs? Is there something to do with that type of person?
Oh, absolutely. You make them a champion. You make them your spokesperson. They'll be marketing for you. You know, you need a person like that, right? These are called influencers. So you know, it's funny because I'm going through this exercise with the team that I'm currently coaching, and I said, you know, you have to, you know, kind of put people into buckets, and it's okay. And we have to segment them sometimes. I know it's not a nice thing, but you do that. And you say, okay, well, is this person my customer? Is this person my provider? Is this person my influencer? Or, you know, does this person make decisions? So you have to put, you know, it's a high level categorization, but at least it gives you the framework to say, my goodness, if I have somebody like that, how could I leverage that person to help me through the change that is necessary in the environment? So it's a champion.
Okay, so you said, are they an influencer? Are they a provider? Are they a customer? Or are they?
Somebody who makes the decisions.
Someone who makes the decisions.
Sometimes you have to, you know, the people who are making the big decisions, you have to say, okay, you know, I need to get their buy-in. You know, if they're making the decision, whether it's around money or the environment or people, when you are working for a company, you know, you have to get the buy-in from the people who are going to make the decisions. And it's, you know, whether it's directors or CEOs or CIOs or CFOs, it doesn't matter. It's to recognize who's your customer and who's going to help you make those decisions. Because a lot of people will go and say, oh, you know what, I have this great plan, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And they forget about who they need to bring along. because you can't do it on your own.
So there are
There
four. There are four in that exercise that you're doing with your team.
Yeah.
There are four buckets of four categories. Four buckets. Okay. So then when we're talking to the person who's like really keen, we want to identify who they are, and then who can they identify as the provider, the customer, the decision maker, or the influencer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's awesome. And so, Lynn, in this career of change management, is there ever a point where it's like downhill and it's just not going to have, like, what happens when it hits bottom? Like,
yes.
what do you do?
You know, it's funny. Yes, it does. There's not success in everything. You will get people who resist everything to the bully end. And then there's sometimes that you just have to recognize that, oh, well, you know what? This is going to be a failure. But just because it's a failure doesn't mean you haven't learned anything through your failures. And I've had a lot of successes in life, but, I've had failures too. And I would sit there going, you know what? Okay, guys, we have all the means to be successful. Either you buy in or it's your decision. You choose your path. And if they make a decision to choose their own path, then you just have to accept it. Even though I would like to have people successful all the time around me, I had a situation at the last company I was consulting with. It's, okay, guys, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it. Here you go. When you need me, when you're ready for this change, you know where to find me. But I knew when to cut it. And, you don't have to take it personally, because your own change, another person's own change experience is not about you. It's about that person. And a lot of people tend to take that personally. I think it was, in the past few years, I've learned to say, don't take it personally, Lynn. It's not about you. It's about something that's happening within them. And they have to learn to manage it, and it's okay to walk away.
So if someone is not on board, if they're not able to make the body language, give you the sign, if they didn't walk in the room ready, and if they're not going to change, then you can accept that as a lesson in failure and learning from it. And you used very interesting words, let it go.
Let it go. It's okay. It's see, that's a lesson my mother taught me in her process, right? I don't want to let her go. I didn't think it was the right timing. But who's to say that it was the right timing? Maybe it is the right timing. Maybe it wasn't the right timing for me, but in the space that we're in, it was the right timing, because it happened. And I learned at that point to say, okay, well, you know what? It's not my timing, it's her timing, it's the way things are supposed to be. And then when I started to learn to accept that bit by bit, it was a very difficult process, as you know, Kathryn. But, I just sat there and I said, Mom, it's okay. You can let go. You don't need to hold on for me. You need to do what you need to do for yourself. And that's what happens, right? So it was huge, a dynamic shift for me. Mm-hmm.
So you give permission to yourself. You give permission to the person in front of you, in the face of life, in the face of the afterlife, to move on, to let go.
Absolutely.
On that journey. Laurie, do you have any questions for Lynn before I asked her some more questions? I just thought in case there was something on your mind.
Oh, there's always a million things on my mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, some of those comments spark some thoughts.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I know we have to, I think that's good that you're helping people, and especially people in companies, when they find out, one, that sides for each person, what they're best at, their best attributes, and then you pull that out of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, because a lot of people and a lot of companies, they just think, oh, well, you're just hired for this, or you're just hired for that, and then that's it, instead of actually having all the players that you never know what somebody could bring to the table.
Right.
by you just pulling that out, and allowing them to have that experience too. So I think that's really great.
Thank you. It's we all have something to offer, and we're human beings. We all want to do ultimate good, and it's just sometimes our environment around us that makes us do things that maybe perhaps are just influencers, and it's everybody deserves a chance. Everybody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely. So tell me something like, what do you help, going into the gratitude side? So, obviously when you help a company, go through these changes to get better, obviously they're grateful to you, right? Because they're doing better and they're seeing things in a different light, and maybe even seeing their employees in a different light, which of course is going to make the emotional state of the company and the spiritual state of the company even better also, right? Because that's it. I mean, if the company's all uptight or the players are all uptight, then, that's not the best game for the company as well. Mm-hmm. So, what can you speak to like on that part of it, of, how you've seen getting people to, you pull that out and then you get people to see that and you show them how they can be grateful and thankful for their employees and getting them to see that light, how does that make a difference for you? And then also, how does that make a difference for the people, the employer, and the company as a whole?
It's about speaking their language, Laurie. It's the CEOs and the VPs, they all want to see value. They want it, documented in a value proposition. They want metrics. They want performance. They want to make money. And their biggest and largest asset is not in the product that they produce, but the people who produce it for them. So imagine your most important asset in your company are the people. And I'm grateful because I think we're in the time with all the new generation coming in that we have to be this way. It's not like the generation baby boomers and the generation Xers. I hate to call them millennials because my nieces say, don't call me that. But the newer generation that's entering in the workforce, they've seen their parents go through a lot of suffering. They've seen their parents go through the 9 to 5, or like not even, going in, working all the time, working on their vacations, making sure that they were able to keep their jobs and their livelihood. They don't want to go through that, so they make they make less of a life commitment to many different things than I think we have done in our generation. And the CEOs of the companies have to realize that there's a huge change in that, and especially because the baby boomers are retiring. The generation Xers, that we're so small, we're very few, and we're the bridge between the loyalty and the people and our children who are going into the workforce and saying, wow, there needs to be a bridge, guys. You need to attract talent. You see a lot of companies saying, how do we attract talent? Well, you attract talent by treating your people well and knowing that they have value. And if they have value, how are you going to help them perform better? How do you help them perform better? Well, you take an interest in them. Who are they? Doesn't matter what job that they do. Are they competent? Are you giving them training? Are you giving them programs? How are you recognizing them? Whether it's reinforcement through, carrot or a stick, you have to choose more of the carrot method, right? Because the stick method, people after 6-7 months will say, it's enough. So, that's where the dynamic of it changes. And, you can make money, but making money as a company, it's all around the people that support it. It's really about the people. And people, finally, they're starting to come through this realization, this awareness. That's a good thing. Our younger generation has a better workforce than I think we've had, that we entered in the 90s, 80s and 90s. It's a good thing. Does that answer your question? Perfect. Thank you.
Lynn, that is amazing and valuable insight and strategy. So I have a question. I have my eye on the time, Laurie, I see. So I have a question from the perspective of the employer. So there's a company, and a company's assessing their profits, they're assessing their inventory. Perhaps they know that their best asset is their employee, but they're not really too sure what to do about it. How does a company find Lynn Kowalski? How does a company engage in a change management strategy? How does a company, even if they've read about it, how do they know that what they're doing is the right thing? Because like any profession, is everybody really that knowledgeable? So, okay, we're the company. What does the company do to get to you? How does that work?
You know, it's interesting because this, I've been doing this for over 27 years. And now it's becoming, you know, the position of the future. And people say, well, how do I become like you? And I sit there going, let me tell you about 27 years of my life experience. And I started through the fact of, you know, understanding how people learn and how they adopt and what do they respond to, right? And, you know, it's a bit of a mixture. Companies are saying, yeah, I need a change manager. I don't know what I need them for, but I do need one because I need someone to manage change because I don't know how to manage change. So they created this title. I look at many job descriptions and I sit there going, oh my goodness, wow, guys, you really don't see it, right? And it's connecting with the people. And if I don't see that in their job description, I wouldn't even, you know, I get lots of people who reach out to me through LinkedIn. They look at my profile and they sit there going, and I don't fully state it. I indicate how we approach my approach that I've used in the past and what I do today. And when the people who do get it will reach out to me. And like with my the recent company that I'm working with right now, they got it. You know, they knew that they were looking for someone with a blended amount of experience, you know, developing teams, developing people, understanding what it's like to learn about a new position, what type of programs, not sitting in front of a classroom to learn. It's really about learning through experience and simulation and, you know, YouTube and videos and interaction and apps and all those wonderful things that we have up there. So I talk a lot about that on my profile. And when people do get it, I know when they're talking about the people portion. When I start to hear, well, we need you to build a change strategy and communication plan and this, and this, and I don't see the people element in it, I sit there going, well, what do you need me for? Right? You can easily do that. Anybody can put those things together. You can pick up a book. There's tons of books out there. You can pick up a book, whether it's through Cotter or through Senge, or there's a lot of books out there. And you can just do a copy paste. But when you cannot connect that change with the individual, then there's no success. So there's, you know, people do know that. And I think it's important to understand that if you are really, you know, want to invest in your greatest asset in a company, which are your people, then that's where I'm interested, right?
So
I know something with my people, don't know how to go about it, but I'm hoping you can help me. And that's how my last company approached me.
Okay, so the company will have the desire and you will qualify them based on the questions that they ask you, and then you'll decide, or together you decide that would be good for them. And so does a company have to be any particular size? So just for our audience watching, not necessarily knowing who's going to be watching, but what if a company has 2 employees? Do they need 50? Do they need 100? Do they need a budget, a big budget? What type of company would be able to embark on your types of services?
Any small, medium, or large business, it doesn't matter, right? When you want your people to perform and you don't realize what you need to do and how to just, you know, there's a strategy on how you would like to get them to perform, it doesn't matter the size of the company. You know, it can take a couple of hours into just, you know, getting together, doing a workshop, or, you know, it can take 6 to 18 to 24 months, depending on the impact of the change, whether it's just transitional or it's transformational, like 24, 36 months. I mean, there's some companies that, change everything in the employee's environment. And you're talking about, 3 to 5 years. But, anything that has to deal with performance, that's where change management goes into.
Thank you. So if anybody's watching this show and any of that criteria goes through their mind, they can certainly reach out to you, and you can discuss. Okay, you can discuss that with them. And Lynn, share, and Laurie, I'm looking at the clock. I don't want to, and Lynn, with your personal experience and how you discuss change in life that we have no control over, right? This change happens, and how we react and how we respond is what you're talking about. How in our own lives, how in your own life you react to change. That's how you can recognize that in others, in the people that you speak with. So is there a thought or quote that you'd like to share with our audience today regarding change? A song, a dance, anything.
It's funny because I was in yoga class and with a great instructor, and we're doing tree pose. And there's about 50 people in the room, and the instructor says, express yourself, don't impress yourself, right? So it's Madonna. I'm a big Madonna fan. And it's true, when you express yourself, it's not to impress yourself or impress others. It's because it's the freedom to express, and communication is everything. And I have a ton of expressions, right? From, my God, Churchill is one of my greatest. I love him. I think, he was a bold old man, but still, never give up. If somebody knocks you down, it's okay. Get up. Take the will, have the courage to continue. Because I think that's what a lot of people miss, is that, everybody goes through the same thing in life. We all have, issues or problems and stress. It's really about the will to have the courage to continue. And courage just takes a bit of risk sometimes, and having that level of courage and taking that risk may be a life-changing event for you, right? So Churchill was all about that. And I respect that man, even though people say, oh, how could she's a misogynist and everything. I said, well, no, but truly he was very deep and passionate about, how he changed, when you talk about the United Kingdom and how in the face of World War II and everything that happened, he stood up against a lot of different things, a lot of faces of evil, because they had the courage to do so. And look at the change, because if they didn't have that courage in order to make that change and say, this is what I believe in, maybe we wouldn't, maybe it would be different for all of us today, right? Who knows?
Very, very wise words, Lynn. Courage.
Thank
and
you.
I'm thinking about you in tree pose. So if our audience could stand in tree pose, that's courage. Stand in tree pose. First
that is courage.
Then be able to stand there and have a thought go through your head and still be standing. Now that's really big.
I laughed through it, but that's okay.
That's wonderful. Lynn, there are so many more things that I'd like to share. And actually, as Laurie and I wrap the show up, hang out, because we're going to talk to you a few minutes after the show. So don't disconnect. Hang out with us.
I'm still here.
Yeah, hang out with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm grateful. I am truly grateful to share my experiences, really. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're honored to have you here, and it was so worth the wait to be able to have the right timing to have you on with us tonight. And we'll be able to watch this show. It will be recorded for all of whoever we get to invite. Laurie, I hate this part of the show. I hate when it has to come to an end. It's something like, I know it's a half hour or an hour, but sometimes I think it could be 2 hours. Anyway, that's another discussion for another time. What happens, Laurie, if somebody's watching our show tonight and says, wait a minute, I want to be Lynn Kowalski. I want to be on Gratitude Girl Show. What does someone have to do to be in Lynn's shoes, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/gratitudegirls. and send us a message right there. Send us your gratitude story. Everybody has one, right? Everybody can find something to be grateful for. And so tell us your story. So we get messages all the time. And if you send it to us right there on our Facebook page, Kathryn and I both get access to it. And then we discuss it, we contact you, we figure out when we can fit you on our calendar and set up a time that's convenient for both and get together. And then we will invite you to one of our shows. We are here the fourth Tuesday night every single month at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain, and 6:30 Pacific.
Thank you, Laurie. It's an honor always to be with you and to hang out with you. And to our audience, we're very grateful. If it weren't for your viewing and for your interest and for your stories, we would not be able to continue to serve you to the higher good of everyone. So, Laurie, I want to thank you and send you love. And until next month.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Lynn.